Hi everyone, I'm Danielle Byington, and in this Dante video, we are talking about Canto 5. We are now entering what's called Hell proper of the Inferno. So we begin by entering and seeing, um, sometimes this is called Minos, sometimes this is Minos, um, a sort of creature, so not a human-like creature the way Charon, the ferryman, was depicted, but rather this is a sort of animal, a sort of beast that has a long tail. That's important to note because he uses this tail to wrap it around himself and kind of measure as each sinner enters hell and stands before him. He wraps his tail around himself to measure what layer, so not just like the circle, because there are nine circles, but like I talked about in the background video of Inferno, when we talked about all this topography of Dante's hell, there are different layers in each section. So every time he wraps his tail around himself, that indicates where each sinner is going as they stand before him and enter hell proper. So that first circle is kind of considered limbo, and now we are in the second circle, and this is the circle where those who were lustful. Remember, we start out with a lack of self-control, incontinence, in these first few circles. So lust is one of those categories, and it's basically like a bit of a family reunion if you are a student in a literature class and you've studied a lot of other texts that mention these characters leading up to now. We have appearances by Dido, Paris, Helen of Troy. We have this little blip of Achilles mentioned, and if you're using the Norton anthology, there's even a little footnote about why that's in there. I mean, technically, I would think Achilles would be in there because of his affair with his love affair, maybe with Patroclus, but that's considered. There are different depictions of that in mythology. Like sometimes it's just his best friend, and then in other traditions, they are in love with each other. But in this case, by from the ancient world, and now we are in like the 1300s. Dante is depicting, as the medieval tradition would have depicted Achilles by this time, that Achilles, was in love with a Trojan priestess. That's not the way it's depicted in Greek drama. It's, of course, another rape narrative. But in this place, they're saying Achilles and Polyxena are that they were lustful lovers. There are also some other people from history you'd recognize, like Cleopatra. And, it's kind of like there's such a patriarchal narrative to put Cleopatra there and Helen of Troy. Like, it's totally their fault, the way they're depicted in history. Um, and then we see the most famous couple in here. And I say that because, I mean, I would say like maybe Dido being there because of killing herself over Aeneas, or that affair between Paris and Helen. It's like maybe more written about, but that of Francesca and Paolo, this has been depicted numerous times throughout art, throughout history. So this touches on Arthurian legend as well, and it's based on historical accounts. This is something that actually happened, not like visiting them in the underworld, but this murder. So Francesca and Paolo, he was her brother-in-law. She's married to his brother. So Francesca and Paolo kind of had an affair. And the way it happens was you see that when Dante is talking to them, so he says to Virgil, I want to ask them some questions. And he gets the down low on what happened, on how Francesca gets there. And it's just Francesca talking. So she says that basically they were reading the story about Lancelot, and if you go on to study some more Arthurian legend, you see that some of the stories about Lancelot are he's kind of a ladies' man, but probably the most predominant of those are that he has like this ongoing affair with Queen Guinevere, the wife of King Arthur, the king of Camelot. So that's kind of a big deal. And so Francesca and Paulo, like the heat is up. They are sitting together reading this story about Lancelot and his love affairs. And basically, to paraphrase the different translations, she goes on to say, we get to the part about his affair, and we looked up at each other, and we read no more that day. To say, like, then she and Paulo had an affair, and her husband, Paulo's brother, walks in on them and murders them because of it. And so even though they were murdered, they don't have innocence because of what they were doing in the moment, and they haven't repented for that. And so they are being punished in hell for all eternity. I should describe the second circle a little bit for you. So it's like a whirlwind. They are just, and it's like when you get a crush on someone, or like just being swept off your feet in the beginning of a romance, as some people call it, the quote unquote honeymoon phase. And so they're in this whirlwind of fire and embers burning in that for all eternity. So you see that the kind of play on language there. They are burning for each other, and so they burn for all eternity in this whirlwind. There are a lot of art depictions, like I mentioned a moment ago, of both of these scenes of Francesca and Paulo. So here on the right, a depiction of them reading, and you can see they're at the point where she has put the book down, and then on the left, they're kind of like floating together in this this linen womb thing. And there's over to the right, Dante and Virgil, kind of creepily looking at them, but you get the idea. Okay, so that's all for Canto 5 from Dante's Inferno. Thank you for watching.